So the Home Minister makes a fresh offer for talks, and one of the top Maoist commanders say out of the question, it's for the government to actually withdraw troops first. What's the middle ground possible in this situation? Is a peace initiative at all possible? Let's get started this evening with Nandini Sundar, who was one of the key brains behind that Citizens' Peace Initiative earlier today. Nandini, I'm sure you've heard the Home Minister's statement again, basically arguing, give up violence and we're ready to talk to the Maoists on any issue, on any grievance. We've also heard a Maoist commander rejecting it and saying it's for the government to pull back on operations. What role do you see for people like yourself now in trying to create a middle ground in this very, very polarized debate?
Barkha, I think there has to be a constituency for peace, and that it's up to every citizen to create that constituency. So I'm hopeful that over the long term, if not over the short term, we will create that kind of conducive atmosphere. We haven't seen Chidambaram's letter because he did not send it to the meeting where we were all present. So we've only heard about it through the media. But from what I gather, he hasn't said anything that he hasn't said in the last 2 weeks. So he hasn't made any fresh response to the Citizens' Initiative for Peace. And as far as the Maoists go, again, they haven't made any fresh response either. So the Citizens' Initiative for Peace has called upon both sides to create conditions for a ceasefire. But the government has to take the initiative because it is the government of the country. It is a responsible senior force. So it's the government which has to initiate the call for unconditional dialogue.
But Nandini,
so our demands as...
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the government would argue that that is what it's doing, that the Home Minister is going on record again and again saying, please come to the dialogue table. His letter today is written to Rabi Ray, the former Lok Sabha Speaker, with copies to people like Aruna Roy, who just spoke at that meeting today. So what more are you looking from the Home Ministry in specific to do?
Well, one we're looking is for the Home Ministry to abjure its own violence. You cannot have a conducive atmosphere to talks when you have 40,000 troops being sent into places like Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. If you had come to the meeting today, you would have seen that there were 12 people from Dantewadas, including a woman on a stretcher who had been injured standing in front of her house by the Cobras and the security forces. And, her 4 children fell on top of her. And, we have to have civilians being secure in this country. And the government has not done anything about its own violence in Salwa Judum. So if the government is serious about talks, it must create the atmosphere by withdrawing the forces, by, ensuring there is justice for the victims of Salwa Judum. And the Maoists, in turn, must stop their violence and create an atmosphere conducive for talks.
Okay, but
you can't have each side only talking about the violence of the other and not recognizing their own violence.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. Who breaks this cycle? Because everybody's waiting for somebody else to
Well,
blink
the government has to break it, and the Citizens' Initiative has said clearly that the government must initiate unconditional talks.
Swapan, all right, that's the key phrase. Nandini, I got you. Let me get Swapan Das Gupta in, that the government must initiate unconditional talks.
I think the operative word is unconditional. First, let me say I find it intriguing that each time the Naxalites or the Maoists are beleaguered, certain bodies come to their rescue and put up a facade and say, look, it's time to be sane about it. We don't want any violence. Let's get peace. Let's get talks, etc. The Maoists, of course, spurn this offer.
Tuba.com